Hello everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I am going to continue the same module, that is quality systems in IT, and the new chapter, that is chapter number 3, that is role and origin of the ISO 9000. In the last class we have started with the chapter number, or we have finished with the chapter number 2, that is the basic concepts of the ISO, basic concept that is used in the IT. So let's talk about what we have covered in the last class, that is the previous class session. Then moves to today's topic, that is chapter number 3, that is role or reason of the ISO 9000 standards. So in the last class we have started with the process management, that is what is the process management, how we are following the process management, or what are the various procedures that is used in the process management. There is the quality management concepts. And these are the various procedures and the processes that is required for the quality, or there is a contrast, we can say the comparison between the procedure and the processes. So procedures are driven by the completion of the task and processes are driven by the achievement of the desired result. These are the processes, these are the procedures. And procedures are implemented and processes are operated. So whatever the procedure that we are following, they are implementing in the sense, they are implementing in the structure, and processes are operating in the concept, that is the processes. Then procedure steps are completed by different people in different departments. So these are processed by the different people and the different department, that is processed. And process stages are completed by the different people and completed by the same objective or with some objective. So there are some objectives that are considered to be the processes. Then processes are the discontinuous and process flows to conclusion. So procedures are the discontinuous, so there should be a discontinuous procedure, and processes flow to conclusion, that is also part of the procedures. And then procedure also focus on satisfying the rules that is available for the procedures, and processes also you use for satisfying the interested parties. The next is finding a definition. That is, what is the definition? That is a set of the interrelated or interacting activities that transforms input into the output and goes on that state that a process in an organization are generally planned and carried out under the certain conditions, under the control condition, to add the value. So whatever the values, whatever the control condition that is available, that is added in the organization, that is also a part of the organization. So that is defined. We can say we can give the output and there is a, we can give the input and there is a processing, then the output will be generated. So this is finding a definition. Then the next part that is available is these that defines a process as a structured measure, a set of activities that is designed for specified output for a particular consumer or the market. So whatever the consumer, whosoever is the consumer that is available, that is process for the consumer or the market. Then business process re-engineering, that is the next part that we have discussed. Then what are the various process characteristics that is available, so that converts the input into the output without adding value, with adding value, and with the adding of the we can say the next value with adding of the external values. Then we have defined about the process purpose. So what is the main purpose of the process? So that is defined, that needs a value, or that needs to give the value, that needs to define the value that is available in this one. And next is the process objective. So one is the process value that is defined. The next that is given is a process objective that is also defined for the process terms, or that is also defined for the what is the main objective of the process. So one is the process purpose. What is the main purpose of the process? That is clear that every process needs to purpose for it to add the values that is available. Then next is the process objective that provides a means to measure the effectiveness with which the process fulfills its purpose. So whatever the purpose, whatever the objective that is given, that is also a part of the purpose, that is also a part of the defined status. So that defines the status and objective that is given, that is used to measure the effectiveness, that is used to measure the effectiveness, that is used that fulfill the requirement, that is the process objective. Then there is a process input. So whatever we are giving the input, whatever we are giving the or providing the data, that is known as the inputting the data, or that is known as the input the data. That is a process input that transform the process, or that transform into the output by the means of the process, that is the process input. And under these conditions the input has to change in some way. So there are many ways by which the input has been changed. This implies that instructions, requirement, objective, any other document that are not input because they are not transformed. So whatever the transformation, whatever the data that is transformed, that is known as the process input. And they are the same at the end of the process as they entered it. So whatever the entering procedure, whatever the values that are given, they are entering into the process input. It is not the requirement that is changed, but a product that is generated from the requirement that is available over here, that is known as the process input. However, if you inquire of a person as to what the process inputs are, they will no doubt that all of the things that are needed for the process to commence. So whatever the process commencement that is given as the input. Then there is a process outputs. That means whatever the product that may be a tangible in nature or intangible result that is available, that is known as the output. So that is given as the output, that is tangible or the intangible results, that is the such as the product or the service. And in addition to the outputs, processes have outcomes. So whatever the procedures, whatever the outcomes, whatever the output that is given, they have a procedure, and there is an effect that the process has on its surroundings, and there is an outcome that is available that affects on the environment, that is the process outputs. Then there is a process resources that is available that can be drawn whenever it is needed by the requirement, that is the process resources. So whatever resources that we are given, that is known as the process resources. So these are the process resources. So what are the various resources that is required for the process management? So the resources in a process are the supplies that can be drawn upon when needed by the process. So whatever it is needed by the process, that is supplied by the process management, that is supplied by the process resources. And resources are classified into human, physical, financial resources. So that may be resources, may be anything. That may be human resources, that may be a physical resources, that may be a financial resources. And the physical resources include the material, equipment, plants, machinery. So whatever the physical resources that is required is the material, equipment, plants, machinery, but also includes the time, that is the physical resources. And human resources means the managers. So whatever the human being that is required, that is the human resources. And the physical resources means the material, equipment, plants, machinery that is available for the process resources. So that is part of the process resources. And financial means the money, credit, and the sponsorship. Now, next is the process constraint. So what are the various process constraints that is available? That means what are the various things that are the foundation to the process. So that limits its freedom, that is known as the process constraints. That are the boundaries of the laws, regulations imposed on the hygiene, emissions, internal and the external environment. So whatever the environment that is required, that is the process constraints. This is the resources, then input, then output, then constraint. So whatever the resources that is given, whatever the constraint that is applicable, there is the input, there is the output. Then there is a purpose, objective, process, result, input, output. That is the managed process. And all it is required is what is the manner in which the process is described diagrammatically. The next is the process result. So whatever the process result that is available, that are the things that do result from a process of that. There is no doubt, but the measurable result of the process are the outcome. So whatever the outcome that is available, that is known as the process result. So what is the process result? That is whether the process delivering the output that meets the input requirement or not. So whatever the input that is given, whatever the input that we are giving, so that delivers the output as per the input requirements or not. Then is the process operating efficiently? So whether the process is operating efficiently or not. Then is the process effective? That means this is a question that whether the process that is effective or not, that is the process result. Then process classes, there are multiple classes, that is a macro process, micro process that is available. And there is a sales process that is also a part of the customer, financial, market, regulations, research, marketing. So whatever the customer requirements, whatever the customer data that is available, that are known as a regulation, that is a part of the financial market. This is a generic system model. Then next is making the connection. So whatever the connection process is, whatever the data that is available, that is used to visualize a complete picture when setting out to define and manage your processes. So whatever the process that is given, that is used to define and manage the process, that is making the connection, that is a part of making the connection, that is a part of the process that exists in a context to deliver the objective. The next is the process effectiveness. So whatever the process effectiveness that defined, so when we say that the process is effective, that means there is an effectiveness that is defined for the process. And how would you know whether the process is effective or not? That is defined by the process effectiveness. And so that is about doing the right things. So what should a process do? That means there is a process effectiveness that can be checked for the process effective part. And firstly, and the most obvious process that should deliver the required output, that is the decision, and the document that is process, that is the business or decision, document, product, or the service that is available for delivering the required output. And employees are but one of the stakeholders. So what they are the employees that are also one of the stakeholders, that is the customer, is very important. This is a chapter that we are winding up in the last class. So this is a summary of this chapter. Then next chapter that is available. Next chapter that is available is chapter number 3, that is role, origins, and the application of ISO 9000. That is, what are the various applications, what are the various tools, how the ISO origins, or how the ISO begins, how it is origin, and what are the various applications of the ISO 9000 standard. So what is the role of the ISO 9000? That is, first of all, what is the question? That is the ISO 9000. That means what is the meaning of the ISO 9000? ISO 9000-2000 is a series of 3 international standards for the quality management system. So that means it is a series of 3 international standards. There are 3 international standards that is used for the quality management systems. They specify the requirements and the recommendation for the design and assessment of management system. That means they specify what are the various requirements and the recommendation of the design and assessment. That means what is the design process, what is the assessment process of the management system. And ISO 9000 is not a product standard. Now, none of the standards in the family contain the requirements with which a product or service can comply. So whatever the product services, whatever the requirement that is available, that is a part of the ISO 9000 standard. And there are no product acceptance criteria in which, or in ISO 9000, so you can't inspect a product against the standard. So there is no product that is inspected against the standard, that is the ISO 9000 standard, that is also a part of the ISO 9000. Now, what is the main purpose of the ISO 9000? So what is the main usage? Why we are using the ISO 9000? What is the main advantage of using the ISO 9000? This is the next question. So purpose of these questions or purpose of these standards is to assist the organization of all types to implement and operate effective quality management. So whatever the quality management, whatever the tool that is available, that is used to use the organization of all types to implement and operate effective quality management system. These standards provide a vehicle for consolidating and communicating concepts. So whatever the concept that is used, that may be a consolidated concept, that may be a communicating concept that is used in the field of the quality management, that have been approved by an international committee of the representative. That means they are part of the committee of the representative from the national standard body. So that is a part of the ISO 9000, and it is not their purpose to fuel the certification, consulting, training, and publishing the industry. So it is not their fuel, or it is not their purpose to fuel the certification. The primary users of the standards are intended to be organizations acting as either customer or the supplier. So whatever the customer, whosoever the supplier that is used, that is also the part of the ISO 9000 standards. Now, what is the ISO 9000 family of standards? That means, what does it contain? If I'm talking about the family, that means there are more than one person in the family of the standards. So there are 3 standards, or the 3 standards in the family are ISO 9000, ISO 9001, ISO 9004. So these are the 3 family of the standard that is available in the ISO 9000. That is the quality, that is the ISO 9000, ISO 9001, and the ISO 9004. So there are 3 standards, there are 3 parts that is available over here. Now, what is the main purpose of these standards? So what is the main aim of these standards that is available? So each standard fulfills a different purpose. So there is a different purpose that is fulfilled, that is known as the purpose of the standards. And the purpose of ISO 9000 is to provide an appreciation of the fundamental principle of the quality management. That means it provides an basics of the fundamental principle of the quality management systems and an explanation of the terminology that is used in the family of standards. So whatever the explanation that is given, that explains the quality management system, that is also the purpose of these standards. And the purpose of that is the purpose of the ISO 9000. That is the fundamental, or what are the various fundamental principles that is available for the quality management systems. And the purpose of the ISO 9001 is to provide requirements. So what are the various requirements that is available, which if met will enable organization to demonstrate that they have a capability to constant or consistently provide the product that meets the consumer and the applicable requirement. That means ISO 9000 standard can be used to assess the organization's ability. That means whether it is it is used to assess the organization ability, whether organization have ability to meet the customer, regulatory, and the organization on requirement. That is the ISO 9001 standard. And the purpose of the ISO 9004 is to provide guidance for improving the efficiency. That means what are the various guidance that or that provides the guidance for efficiency or improving the efficiency, effectiveness, and overall performance of an organization. That is the main aim of the ISO 9004 standard. That is the how to improve the efficiency, effectiveness, and overall performance of the organization. And ISO 9001 and 9004 have been developed as a constant or consistent pair of the standards that complement each other, and they have a common structure but can be used independently. So they have a common structure but they can be used independently, and they are not intended as a guide of the ISO 9001 standard. So this is not as a guide of the ISO 9001 standards. Also, ISO 9000 includes the requirement of the ISO but does not contain the explanation of these. Next question, why would we need to use these standards? What is the main aim, or why there is a requirement of these standards in the organization? So that is used as a reason. So what are the various reasons? Because they improve the quality first of all. That is the main use of these standards. The next question is why should we or why we will need to use these standards? So it is imperative that all three standards are studied for the following reasons. So what are the various reasons? So ISO 9000 contains a definition of terms that is used in the family of the standards. So whatever the family of standard that is available, that is used in the ISO 9000 standards, and without an understanding of the term, the standards are prone. That means without understanding of the ISO 9000, the standards are prone to the misinterpretation. And ISO 9000 also contains the general conceptions and principle that apply to the quality management. So they contains, or ISO 9000 contains the general concepts and the principle that apply to the quality management and the quality management systems, that in particular. So although they are not the requirement, the context and the interpretation of the requirements are used as an ISO 9000 standard that is used as an appreciation of the concepts that underpin the requirement. And ISO 9001 contains the requirement for a quality management system. So whatever may be the quality management system that is available, that is required for the quality management system, that standard should be used in contextual situations where the customer requires its supplier to demonstrate that they have a capability to consistently produce the concept. So whatever the requirement of the user that is used or that is available with the ISO 9001 standards that produces the product that meets the customer requirement. The theory is that if the suppliers can show they do all the things in ISO 9001, only confirming the product would be shipped to the producers or customers. So whatever the product that is available that is used for confirming the product that is used as a ship to the customer. This would, in theory, reduce the need for the customer to verify the product or receipt. So whatever the product that is available, that is product or that is required the consumer to take the product on the receipt. And this would, in theory, reduce the need for the customer to verify the product on the receipt. So whatever the product that is available, that is required for the consumer or that is required for the customer to verify the product on the receipt. Third parties can also use the standard to assess the capability of the organization. So there is a third party that is also used, that is used to assess the capacity or capability of the organization to provide the product that meets the customer and regulatory requirement. So whatever the requirement of the product that is available, that is used as a part of the customer and the regulatory requirements. And organizations can use the ISO 9001 as a model in designing the concepts. It is used as a model in designing their management system, that providing they also use the ISO 9000 and ISO 9004. So ISO 9004 contains the guidance on developing and improving a quality management system. So ISO 9004 contains the guidance on developing and improving a quality management system. So there is a guidance that is available on the quality management system, that is a guidance. So this standard should be used as a guidance in designing, operating, and improving a management system. So whatever the management system that may be a guidance in designing, operating, and improving a management system, that standard can be used or should be used as a guidance in designing, operating, and improving. And it is not intended for a contractual or the assessment purpose, but that can be used. There may be a benefit in the using the capability. Now, why was ISO 9001 created? So what is the main reason for the ISO 9001 created? So the main reason that is available, the standards that were created to facilitate the mutual understanding of the quality management system. So there is a mutual understanding of the quality management system that is also a part of the quality management system, that is a system requirement in the national and the international trade, and the associated certification schemes that are not a requirement of any of the standards in ISO 9000 family that were launched to reduce the cost of the consumers, that will be used to reduce the cost of the consumer sponsored audit performed to verify the capabilities. So whatever the capabilities, whatever the requirement that is applied, that is required to verify the capability of their suppliers, schemes that were born out of a residence of the customer to the trade with the organization that had no credential in the marketplace. So there is no credential for the marketplace that is used with the organizations. And the standards were primarily intended for the situations where the customer and the suppliers were in a contractual relationship. So there is no contractual relationship that is available that is used for the consumer and the suppliers, that is used in the contractual relationship. So this is the theory. That means the ISO is used, or ISO 9000 standard is used for the situations where there is no need to demonstrate the potential capability. So there is usually no need to demonstrate what are the various potential capabilities that is available. So customer normally purchase on the basis of the recommendation or the prior knowledge. So whatever the prior knowledge that is available, so customer normally purchase on the basis of the recommendation that is given or the prior knowledge. And even in the contractual situation, demonstration of the capability is often not necessary when the consumer or the customer cannot verify the quality. So if the customer cannot verify the quality, that product may be demonstrated with the various necessary requirements when the product or the service, or when the consumer cannot verify the quality of the product. So in cases where the customer has the capability to verify the conformity, the time and the effort that is required is an added burden. So whatever the added burden that is required, that is used to verify the conformity, time, and the efforts. And its elimination helps reduce the cost to the end user. So whatever the end user that is available, that is used to reduce the cost to the end users. And it is clear that the customer needs the confidence in the quality of the product. So customer needs the confidence in the quality of the product, that will require more evidence or some evidence that readdress or address the need. And ISO 9000 standards was a neat solution to the problem, as it provides most of the requirement that is needed to obtain an assurance of the quality. So are the consequences of failure such that we need the supplier to demonstrate it has the capability to meet the requirement? So whatever the requirement criteria that is required for the sufficient confidence that we are willing to compensate for any problem that might arise. So whatever the problem that arises, that is required for the supplier management. Now, why does ISO 9000, or what does ISO apply to? That means, apply to. So ISO family standards can be applied to the organizations regardless of the type, size, and the product provided. So regardless of the size, regardless of the quality, whatever they provide, they can be applied to all the organizations. And they are the standard that apply to the management of an organization, and only to the assessment that can and should use, or how it will respond to these standards. So whatever the standard that is available, that will respond to these standards and the recommendation. Now next part is origin of the ISO 9000. That means what is the main origin of the ISO 9000 standards. So that's all for today's session, and in the next class, that is the next topic, that is the origins of the ISO 9000 standards, that we will begin in the next class, that is in the tomorrow's class. So that's all for today's session, And any doubts, any clarification, you can ask the doubts from me. And in the next class, that is in the tomorrow's class, I'm going to take the next topic, that is the origin of the ISO 9000. That's all for today's session. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.